Hey folks, Cute Jungle here. It's in fact, I'll pull up this one. Why not? We'll go straight in there. It's Thursday, so that means it's Jungle Drums time. Apologies for not having Jungle Drums last week. I'd actually hurt my back. So I'd hurt it to a point. It was a pulled muscle, but I'd hurt it to the point that basically I couldn't sit at the PC for any length of time. So I was unable to stream. I was actually unable to do quite a bit of school stuff and whatnot as well because, funnily enough, because all of my school stuff involves computing. I wasn't actually able to even, sit at the PC whatsoever. So yeah, it's just been unfortunate the last week or so. But hey, it's fine. Everything's back to normal. I'm feeling okay. I can. Sit down perfectly well. My back's not screaming at me. So yeah, it's not. It's still not too bad. So I've not quite got a full house this evening, but fortunately enough, I do have some friends guests with me. I've got, of course, Gimboyd, who you met obviously on episode 1, and he was here for episode 2. But tonight for episode 3, we're joined by SgtJay.
Hola!
Hola! One of our very good online buddies and master PvPer. Jay, why don't you tell us just a little bit about yourself? Obviously, we don't want your life story, but a little bit about your kind of gaming history and I'll tell you what, people might be quite interested about your educational background since it's quite relevant as well.
I suppose that is true. Gaming background, I've been playing since I was about probably 7 or 8, I reckon. Used to play COD online.
He's now 12.
Yeah, well, exactly. Used to play COD online, COD 1 and 2. Those are my sort of first proper online games. Played those a bit competitively. A lot of Battlefield as well, 1942, Battlefield 2, all the expansions for those. And then mainly just whatever online games. I had a massive WoW problem and addiction.
Yeah. I think we're all ex-WoW addicts.
It's drained my gaming life of any other sort of nice game I could play ever. All these titles I probably missed out on. And then as for my education, a degree in obviously games technology, so computer programming, roughly, to a certain extent.
See, there you go. He knows his stuff, folks. He knows his stuff. He is the master. I am but a Padawan. Well, actually, I'm not even going into that whole gaming thing. I'm not interested in programming. It's all hardware. You know me. I like my hard stuff.
Easy.
Well, that's true. That's true. But yeah, so no, thanks for that, Jay. Hopefully it's nice for you to be able to manage to get on this evening.
Yeah, I was allowed to for once.
Oh, see, that's so nice for while she's sitting there in the corner dying from tuberculosis or something.
Probably is.
Well, I wanted to obviously last week, if I had been on, there was quite a bit of news that happened last week. But you know what? It's just as well. This week is much better because we'll talk about it a little bit later. But Ryzen specifically has had a kind of a bit of a change in opinion compared from last week. But I want to talk about something that's just fresh off the press, and that is the launch of the GeForce GTX 1080 Ti. Now, pretty much, most gamers, like the ones that will have the cash available to buy, high-end video cards. I mean, the 1060, the 1070, the 1080 are all amazing cards. And a Titan X is just, wow, people dream about it, but it's way, way, way too expensive. Well, the TI that they just announced at the GDC, the Game Developers Conference in San Francisco this week, looks really quite impressive. From some of the benchmarks they were showing, they're saying this thing, and in fact, I've got the article up right here. If we see here, it is saying a 35% increase. It's 35% faster than the GTX 1080, which is quite amazing. I don't know if you've had a chance to look at the specs of this, Jay.
11 gig, 11 fucking
It's
gig.
got 11 gig of GDDR5X memory at 11 gigs per second. It's, yeah. The stats are just ridiculous, right? I mean, they're saying
twice the airflow as well.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, obviously, you can pre-order them now. Like just today, the pre-orders went live. They're not cheap. It's 699 quid for one of these bad boys, but it's still cheaper than the Titan X. I don't even remember what those were off the top of my head. I'm sure they were close to $1,000 or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, the specs on the TI look amazing. I mean, obviously, we're only going off what they're saying about it. We're only going off their spec sheet, and they're saying that, it's this percent increase, it's this. One of the nice things that it means for us, us normal people that don't have that kind of money, is that with that launch, it means all the other GTXs are likely to get a price decrease. In fact, in the States, the 1080 has already dropped by $100, making it, a little bit more affordable.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit. But yeah, there's just some. It's quite interesting, the 1080 Ti. I mean, if you look at some of the images of it, if I just pull up this image right here, you can see the original reference design, very similar to other GTX series cards. It's going to have the blower style reference cooler initially, which the performance of which will be, okay, I imagine. But it'll be really interesting to see all the aftermarket coolers that'll be on there, like the Asus, they do, what is it, their Strix one, I think, and but anyway, there's a bunch of other companies. It's something that I don't think either of us will be buying anytime soon, but it's nice to look at. It's nice to drool over. Can you just imagine, looking at your loved one saying, "Oh yeah, I'm going to spend 700 quid on a video card." It just.
I'd love to warrant the money of that kind of thing.
Even like me when I bought my 1060, for 250 quid, that was a big deal for me. That was quite a large purchase just for one item of hardware.
It's in that stage, isn't it, where graphics cards can come up to the price of the rest of your PC?
Yeah. Oh, it's crazy.
Not that you want to, but is it? I'm guessing it's got a potential SLI tech.
Yeah. It'll most definitely. I mean, when you look at the difference, like some of the key differences between the Ti and the normal 1080, like the normal 1080 only has one Molex connector for power, whereas the Ti requires two. So yeah, you could SLI them, but I mean, you're gonna make sure you're gonna have to have some beefy power supply.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
A big one for that.
But no, it's neat. It's always nice to see, improvement upon things. I mean, I think, and I don't know how much is just, me kind of conspiracy theory or just speculation, is that, the new AMD one, Vega, isn't far away. And it almost seems to me like there may be, they've done this kind of, like a preemptive response, because I don't think there's any firm numbers on Vega yet. There's just speculation and hype.
I don't think there is from what I've seen.
But no, either way, it's always nice to see new products, even if we're not necessarily going to buy them. It's good for the industry.
It'd be nice to see what people can get out of it as well, in terms of obviously they overclock and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Well, it probably needs it, to be honest.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, well, speaking of hype, that brings me on to the Ryzen. Right now, I've been following the Ryzen back when it was just called the Zen, and ages ago. I mean, my last system was an AMD system. I don't have any kind of hardcore brand loyalty. I'll use whatever the hell I can afford. But frankly, when I looked at upgrading, it was cheaper for me to go with an i7 than it was, and that was a 4th gen i7, than it was to go with, like the top, the best AMD stuff. And frankly, the best AMD stuff wasn't going to perform as well. It was really a shame. I think for the last few years, we haven't had much choice, when it comes to chips. When it comes to CPUs, we've kind of been forced that, look, if I want to have, a gaming PC, I need to get an i5. If I want the ability to also stream and do video content, then okay, I need to get an i7. But anyway, the Ryzen last week, right? They had a lot of kind of preliminary benchmarks and stuff, and it looked like holy shit. This the series that they're launching first, their high-end one, Jay, the Ryzen 7, which so their top of the line one, the 1800X, is, oh god, what is it, like 3.7 gigahertz? I think up to 4.1 in turbo mode, 8 cores, but it's got SMT, which is AMD's version of hyper-threading, so it's 16 cores. So it's like, oh wow, this looks amazing. AMD's been saying, look, it performs 35% better than the previous, the FX chips. And so last week, those preliminary benchmarks made it look like it was actually spanking the new 7th gen Intels, right? And like a lot of benchmarks, like, oh wow, this is quite amazing, this looks badass. Well, just this week, the official kind of gaming benchmarks have came out. And funnily enough, even like, for folk, if anyone watches Linus Tech Tips, he did a fantastic video, hands-on. He compared the Ryzen 7 against an i7 7700, I think, 7700K, the new Kaby Lake one. He also did a 6900K. He also did that... oh god, what is it? Is it the 6950? The one that's like, is it a 6-core with hyper-threading or something? It's like, it costs like £1,000, right? It's a £1,000 chip, right? You did all of these things, and what his benchmark showed were actually a bit of a different story. It was funny. It didn't wipe the floor with them per se. Like in some things, like they've got that one benchmark called Cinebench, which tests like the rendering of, I think, 4K video or some crap. And I think it did really well there. It actually performed a hell of a lot more. But when you look at some of these games, like okay, Battlefield 4 as an example, in 4K. So we are looking at the high end here. I mean, I don't have a 4K display. It'd be nice, but it does take some severe power to run that. When you look at Battlefield 4, the new Ryzen managed. They were using a Titan X, by the way, on these benchmarks. AMD got 72 frames per second, whereas the i7 got 70. So 2 FPS. Same with them. There's another benchmark, Ashes of Singularity, which I think, is that not the real-time strategy one that has a whole bunch of crap going on the screen at once, I think?
No, I've never actually heard of that one, so...
Have you not? I'm pretty... Was that Gim?
I'm not familiar with it now.
I'm pretty sure it is like this benchmark thing, but it looks like an RTS, but like with hundreds of things on the screen. Like, like just a ridiculous looking RTS. And I think the values kind of show that. If it was managing 70 in Battlefield 4, it only managed 54 in Ashes of Singularity. But the Intel was 53. I mean, you're looking at these benchmarks, and it is so marginal. It really, really is marginal. That's in the 4K territory. When you get down to 1440p, which a lot of gamers tend to be using these days, yes, it does widen up a little bit. We're looking at like 190 FPS in GTA 5 compared to the Intel doing 167, which, again, does that really mean anything to us, like normal people? Are you going to see that difference?
My PC is so awesome, I'm happy to get 30.
I mean...
That's ridiculous.
The thing is, I mean, like, in these benchmarks I'm looking at here, they were using the i7 6900K, and that is £1,000, right? Whereas this new top-of-the-line AMD chip, the Ryzen 1800X, is £489. Not cheap, but a hell of a difference compared to a £1,000 chip.
Massive difference.
Massive. I mean, the thing that, I mean, I don't know what you guys think, but it's like, well, okay, if someone's got like a 6th or a 7th gen i7, then yeah, they don't need to pay attention to the Ryzen. Those of us in older hardware, I think it's nice that we've got an option now. You know, it's like, oh, wait a minute.
Well,
And if anything, when you look at the last few years, me and Gimboyd were talking about this a little bit earlier, AMD hasn't been relevant in the CPU scene for years. But now they are. They're extremely relevant with the Ryzen. And all it can do is make it better for us, the consumer. You know, because it'll push prices down. It'll make, competition. I mean, at least that's my take on it.
I mean, essentially it's all but at the high end anyway. It's all just a Intel monopoly at the moment.
well, since I've never even looked at AMD for a long. I've never even considered one. It's always been it's Intel.
It's not been worth considering.
Always
till
been
now.
the case.
Yeah, I mean, I was talking to Gimboyd about this earlier, like back when I had my old AMD chip, and I was going to stick with AMD, so I was going to get one of the top of the line FX 9590, right? It was like running at 4.7 gig, and when I priced it all up, right, it was going to be more expensive to do that than get an i7, and it was going to be inferior. You know, it didn't make sense. And it was going to use about twice as much wattage. And it was going to generate even more heat. You know, it's just a shame. They just...
Don't want more heat in your cupboard as well.
No,
Oh
definitely.
no, exactly.
Definitely not.
Be a sauna eventually.
It would be, yeah.
You have people queuing up outside to come and use it.
People dropping off bags of vegetables to steam.
I think the thing that interests me is that, and we don't know about the other chips yet, is we're talking about their top-of-the-line Ryzen. If their top-of-the-line, their absolute best chip is 489, then what are their other ones going to be? You know, like the mid-range ones, and even like their kind of lower-end ones? Because if I recall correctly, even their lower-end ones, looking at the specs, didn't look like they were going to be horrible. So it'll be interesting to see, just imagine if you could build a new AMD system, only spending, say, a couple of £100 between the motherboard and the CPU, for it to actually perform decently. Could be interesting.
Seems like they're trying to get in at the sort of budget end and compete on price over sheer power, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Make Intel up their price game.
That's the thing. I think when you look at it, like when, these places, they do these graphs, like price to pound performance type of thing. And I think that's where the AMD wins. If you look at, pound per performance or some crap, then yeah, the AMDs are just kind of wiping the floor with the Intel. I'm interested to see how the video cards will line up, because even so, AMD processors have always been significantly cheaper than Intel. It's never been the same story with the video cards. I don't know if, do you guys remember the Fury, the R9 Fury, when that came out? That was like one of the most expensive video cards in ages, but it wasn't like that amazing. It was just AMD's always kind of, I suppose, stumbled a little bit when it comes to their video card pricing. So they have. Right. Okay. Come on. It's time for you guys. What have either of you had a chance to read any more about this Xbox's Game Pass that's supposed to be coming out this year?
I've had a
There's
brief
not much
look
to read.
at what it's basically entailing, because it's, from what I can see, it's only a month. The games seem to rotate on a monthly basis, from what I've read.
So it's not just like a straight up open
Well,
library.
I don't think it is from what I saw. I could be wrong. I could have misread it, but from what I had a look at,
So
You're
talking
absolutely.
official, I've not seen much.
You're absolutely right from what I've read. What I've read is that this one article, funnily enough, in Esquire magazine, had said that Xbox's revolutionary new service is like Netflix for gaming. So for us in the UK, they're looking at for £8 allegedly, because I know the American price was $9.99. So I would imagine it'll probably be $9.99 for us as well. You know, it seems like all the other models are that way, but
I think it was on Major Nelson. You had the pricing at $7.99.
Okay, so it is
I
$7.99.
think I saw. I think it was an official source anyway.
So what I'm reading is it's saying, okay, look, for £8 a month, you'll get access to over 100 Xbox One and compatible games. And it's not like a streaming service, but you actually get to download the game similar to EA Access. But
Vault doesn't rotate.
yeah, you'll be able to download them, right? And you'll be able to play them as if you had purchased them digitally. But it says, Jay's saying there, it's only there for whatever the rotation's going to be. But subscribers will be able to purchase the games in the catalogue at a discount. 20% off games, 10% off add-ons, adding them permanently to their Xbox library. So if anything, you're paying £8 a month to try games. That's what it kind of seems like to me. Like, here's a game. I mean, I suppose for some, let's be honest, I mean, there's nothing worse than spending 50 odd quid or more nowadays on a game that only lasts you a weekend. You know, that you play to the story and then you're done with it.
Exactly.
So I can see it being a benefit in that way. But, I mean, I don't know, what do you think? Does that, for what it's given you, is £8 a bit too much?
I'm not too sure, to be honest, because if you look at, I suppose, even more a normal player base, so people that have obviously work life and family life and things like that, you're looking at essentially, they pay £1 for these games, but they're going to have limited access to it. So obviously, if they don't get as much game time, is it really worth it for them? Mm-hmm. But when you look at things like their competitor, the PlayStation one, where obviously your streamers game, fair enough. Yeah, PS Plus. It's unlimited access to it. For everything in their library you can play, which is almost slightly better.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think £8 is a bad price for it, to be honest, considering what you're getting.
Okay.
Think of it this way, though.
Especially when you look at some of their big launch titles they've apparently put onto it.
But if they're just saying every game is only here for a month, what if there's like a massive RPG? What'd you say they put Witcher 3 on? No one's going to finish that game in a month. I've had it since Christmas and I still haven't finished it.
Yeah, it depends what game they put on. And it also depends how their rotation works. So they have like a monthly almost rotation, so it's like you've got 25 games out of the 100 per each week, and it goes through like that, or is it going to be X amount of the however many games are on there are going to rotate through?
You're so right. It depends what their kind of their plan is, because it seems to me like, you know, it could be hit and miss. On one hand, it's great for some of those games. Well, I say great like from our point of view as the gamer, where we can just, a game that would only last a weekend, cool, we can play it for free and then we're done with it. But then if it's like Gimboyd's saying about like a longer game, like an RPG, or let's say even like something that has PvP and it's quite relevant, like like an esport game or something, you could get someone hooked on it, where then it's getting turned out of rotation, and guess what? That person's going to buy it, aren't they? They're going to be, oh shit, it's going away, it's disappearing from the catalogue, I better buy it. So I get it from their point of view. It's actually a little bit of kind of smart marketing, I suppose.
It's very clever in terms of business plan as well, to be perfectly honest with you, because it is that thing of, say, like you got some games that are quite small that you probably could complete within the time frame to everything you want and be like, oh good, I didn't have to worry about actually buying that game. From my own sort of background, looking at something like that, I used to remember when you used to be able to take games back, you had a week basis around with game as a store, and you could take it back and get your full price back. Because I remember doing it with for example, Rayman Legends at the time, I think it was, I can't remember what it was, Rayman Rabbids or something, I can't remember which one it was. And I completed it in a week, took it back, got my full money back, and it was fantastic because it was essentially a game for free. And as you say, with a lot of small games, especially if you're paying, especially how much the prices of games have steeped up now, being able to almost, as you say, try them or even complete them within that £8 limit is quite a good thing to do as well. And obviously, it's not going to be all of these new titles on there. It could even be older titles you think.
And that's the thing that I'm worried about, Jay, is that if you think about, oh wow, cool, so 20% off, you know, like new and current games, that's great, that's excellent. But when you look at, like, I'm looking at 2 of the launch titles so far for the Xbox Game Pass are Halo 5 Guardians and NBA 2K16.
Yep.
So, you know, how long ago? Well, obviously 2K16, we know when that came out, but Halo 5 Guardians, when did that come out?
It must have been a couple of years ago.
No, it was only last year, wasn't it?
Last year? I can't remember when it came out.
But early last year.
But it would have been early last year.
Mm-hmm.
That's me trying to remember.
Well, they've got Payday 2 on there as well and Soul Calibur 2.
Hearing NBA 2K16 though, because I was thinking, well, are they going to get just Microsoft games or games from other publishers? Because EA's got their own service. That NBA 2K16 be on it. That's already for free if you get the EA Vault, and that they don't rotate games out of that.
Yeah, I mean,
£20 a year.
There's only a couple of, like, I've seen Payday 2, Soul Calibur 2, and
Soul Calibur 2.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, I don't know. I mean,
it can't be expensive.
It can't be expensive. You know, I mean, this is the thing.
It's got to be a few quid now.
I'm assuming 20% off what is already a discounted price because it's an older game, surely. So, you know, because at first I was thinking, well, if £8 a month is giving you 20% off current games, then actually, you know, that's not a horrible deal. But I
think EA Access is only 10%, I'm not sure, but again, that's cheaper overall because it's £20 a year.
Although, from just looking at those launch titles, I must say it'd be quite fun getting to play Payday 2 with you lot.
Yeah,
I used to play that a lot when it came out. I loved it.
I mean, I suppose it's not bad. I mean, £8 a month, you know, okay, £2 a week to expand your gaming library, I suppose, isn't the end of the world. It's a decent amount. It's not.
But it's another subscription service.
Yeah.
Although it's partly annoying, the fact that you are downloading it does mean, obviously, if you want to clear up space again, you can just delete it. Because you know it's going to come back around, and obviously you can't play it anyway when it's been downloaded. Once it comes away from the rotation.
Then you spend most of your time downloading and uninstalling.
Well, this is the thing, isn't it?
So they gave us consoles with tiny hard drives.
The other side of the coin. But that's why I went and brought an external.
I still need to get one.
Gig was not going to do it for me.
No. But even the 2 terabyte consoles, do they do 2 terabyte ones? I know they do one in a minute.
They do one. I don't know.
I think they did 2 when they brought out the S.
Yes, that was a limited edition run. Which, remember, we didn't know it was limited edition till after they'd sold out, and then Xbox goes, "Oh yeah, those 2 terabyte launch ones. Yeah, that was just a special run." Oh, okay, thanks. Yeah,
no. For us consoles with bigger hard drives anyway, we pay for them, but nah.
It'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see. Right.
I'll hold judgment until I get the full list.
Now, I'd seen... What was it? I can't remember if it was a week ago or a couple of weeks ago. There was a thing on the news talking about Google and how they developed this AI that was going to be hunting for trolls. And I don't know if it... Yes, kind of. It was, like, the whole concept was, you know, that basically it would... identify trolls. I don't know if it was then supposed to ban them automatically or report them. I don't know. I just know that they'd created this AI that was supposed to, you know, be a troll hunter, so to speak. Well, there's an article today on BBC. Did you see that? That basically it's being tricked. Hackers all over the world have been able to trick this, you know, this AI made by Google, one of the most powerful companies in the world. Well, yeah, but it's not been hackers. It's actually just been folk that can't spell. You can actually fool this highly sophisticated AI just by misspelling words, like writing idiot, I-D-I-I-O-T, or stupid with putting a period between the T and the U. The bot is just unable to recognize it. They've what they've got here is quite interesting. Is this talking about a toxicity score the bot uses? So this sentence, right? They are liberal idiots who are uneducated. Has a 90% toxicity score. But if we put a period between the I and the D of idiots and another period or full stop between the N and the E of uneducated, now it only becomes a 15% toxicity score. It's just, there's so many folk in the world that are worried that AI is going to like take over our jobs. Like there'll be HR, human resources AI, it'll be customer service AI. But I don't know. If Google can't quite get it right, aren't these the same types of AI that are supposed to be controlling the driverless cars?
Yeah.
On a sort of note, the big problem with things like AI, though, isn't it? Is it's so hard to get it to the point where it does what it needs to do. You're always going to find ways around it, as been shown by this. At the end of the day, AI is based around what we put in, how we program it, how we look at teaching the computer the rules.
Exactly.
It follows rules, it doesn't think for itself.
Until you can create an organic program that actually rewrites itself, it's only going to do what it's told. Am I right?
It can. You can almost teach computers to learn as such, like to recognize patterns and things like that. But it's to a certain extent. I'm not completely certain. I don't know if you've ever heard of anything called, obviously, like Turing test, which they use for AI and stuff like that. But yeah, it's obviously, as you say, you're giving the computer instructions. That's what they do. They follow instructions. They don't think for themselves. They do what they're told, essentially. And to the extent they can learn, where they can pick up patterns, and eventually, I'm sure they can probably incorporate to pick up patterns of dots in the middle of the word and extra letters and hyphenates and funny accents on the word and stuff like that. But people are always going to find a way around it, because as you say, the computer's thinking about what it's been told to do, not to notice these little different trends.
Even when learning for yourself can still only work in the parameters that you set for it.
Well, exactly.
So,
yeah, because even won't actually learning still be some type of algorithm or something that
it'll be some sort of parameter-based learning. You say algorithm learning for it all.
Okay. No, I thought it was quite funny. That basically you can troll the troll hunter. Just by.
I think it's brilliant, to be honest.
You have to kill the trolls.
Especially the way people have done it with little dots. I think that's fantastic.
That's funny. But yeah, I mean, if anyone out there is interested in this, bot, it's called Perspective, and I should probably say that it's actually, even so, it's from Google. It's from their spin-off company Jigsaw. But the parent company is obviously Google. But no, it's quite interesting. It's really cool what they're doing with AI. I mean, remember a few months back they had the two Google AI flipping speaker things that were talking to each other. They had custom programming, obviously, but oh my god,
trolls turn a racist. Trolls turn an AI into a right-wing Hitler-loving racist. I remember that happening.
Yes, there was some crazy stuff. So the AI stuff is really, really cool. It is really, really cool.
If a random congratulations came up, then that was because I accidentally.
Yeah, I did hear that.
I'm sorry about that.
That was fine. That's funny.
I didn't even mean to. I was Windows, clicked on this one, and just happened to click on the congratulations.
Oh,
one more thing from this. I would like media in general to start realizing that trolling and straight up toxicity are actually two different things.
That's a really good point. Yeah.
I'm getting really annoyed. I like to troll people. I like to mess about with them. I don't like being toxic to people.
We know what you like.
Yeah, you're right.
What people call trolling is pure toxicity. It's actually completely different.
Yeah, I mean, come on. When you think the way that the media blew up, internet troll has now become synonymous with cyberbullying and just, absolute just things that are completely horrible and disgusting. Whereas in all reality, you're right. I mean, you can be a troll just by, sending a meme to someone who's You know, if someone like says, "Oh, I'm having a crap day," and you send them a meme that, you know, has like one of those animations would deal with it, you know, what, are you cyberbullying that person? Do you need to get arrested?
Careful, because they will call the cyber police. We need to be careful with these things.
It's like you say, Gim, it's just, the media's blown out of proportion. So, like, I think for the normal person out there, like the person who isn't like us, who's not into their tech, into their computers and their video games, they hear troll and they go, "Oh God, you know,
that's
some
a bad thing.
Yeah, some horrible bully.
Come with me, and I will teach you the world of the internet. Trolling can be fun. Toxicity, this is bad. This person telling someone to die of cancer in League, that is bad."
You say trolling can be fun. It depends upon what end you are of it. To the extent it's been going on for.
Jay, you're just not on my level. That's the problem.
No, I'm not. I'm gonna be on your level, Joe.
Yes, we do have
I
resident
bounce you
troll.
on that one.
Someone has to be.
I'm only here for the banter. Something that came across that was quite... I found it interesting, not only because, well, it's about Netflix, right? And I mean, I use Netflix. I'm a Netflix subscriber. But aside from that, it actually made me interested in all this stuff, right? When we talk about streaming and when we talk about watching, you know, things, I mean, okay, like, you know, okay, I know none of us have a 4K TV, right? So none of us are watching Netflix in 4K. But, like, the amount of data it takes to watch that is ridiculous. I mean, even if you ever watch Amazon or Netflix at home, you know, you can tell when it's not at, like, perfect kind of peak data throughput, if you know what I mean, because you'll see things get slightly pixelated, or, you know...
Yeah, you'll get the artifacting.
A little bit artifacting, right? It's because, like, it's funny, you look at, like, streaming right now, for example, and, okay, I'm streaming at 3,500 kilobits, you know, a second, so that's 3.5 meg, which that's fine, it looks okay, blah, 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 but, you know, to watch, like, an HD, a 1080 HD Blu-ray or something, I mean, you're talking, it needs to be somewhere between 15 to 20 something meg, you know, to get, like, the same quality as a Blu-ray. Which obviously, you know, that's using a shit ton of data. So the way that these things are addressed is what they call transcoding, right? Where usually, you know, the way that the data is compressed, blah, 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 blah. And so what Netflix has been working on is they're actually trying to have this kind of dynamic compression, where instead of a fixed rate, like, again, when it comes to, like, streaming, for example, the rate at which my computer is compressing this video of me and our speech is fixed, right? You know, it's at this certain rate. Whereas with Netflix, they're talking about, like, how in different scenes they would actually kind of change the compression from high to low, and it sounds really interesting. Because, I mean, they're talking about how, like, especially nowadays, if you're out and about and you want to watch, like, Netflix from your mobile phone, you know, you could basically go through 2 gigs in an hour. You know, you could just watch one episode or whatever it is you like, Homeland or some crap, and, you know, you've ate up 2 gigs currently. Whereas, hopefully, with this kind of dynamic optimization and whatnot, then, you know, they're saying it could be reduced by quite a lot. So it'll just be interesting to see, because I think it could have ramifications for other services. If Netflix can develop something like that, then, you know, why can't other people? Why can't YouTube? Why can't Beam? Why can't Twitch? Why can't, you know, I don't know. It seemed interesting. It just kind of caught my eye. Especially for, you know, like, people who don't have an amazing internet speed are kind of at a disadvantage. You know, because it'll look like crap. You'll get buffering and whatnot. Whereas this kind of dynamic adjustment would stop that. Like, you wouldn't have that buffering anymore. It would just, if your internet started a potato, it would change the way it's compressing the video to suit your internet speed. It's So there.
That would be helpful. During internet throttling is a problem.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of the biggest problems, like, especially with like if we look at Beam, right? I mean, Beam is one of the platforms similar to YouTube where you could stream at 1080. You know, I can stream up to 10 megabits a second, right? And that'll give an amazing video quality. I could stream at 1080p 60 frames per second at 10 meg, but how many people are going to be able to watch that, you know, reliably without any buffering? You know, it's a problem, because even so, we've got download speeds and whatnot. Your actual throughput of your internet, you know, what a lot of, like, your average person doesn't realize that you will never have like 100% throughput on your internet if you're a normal consumer. The only way to get that is to have a commercial line, a dedicated line that is only yours, because the rest of us, you know, I'm sharing the bandwidth. Even so, okay, I've got a contract that says I should have this download speed. I'm sharing bandwidth with the rest of the street, and the rest of the street is sharing it, you know, with the rest of the surrounding area, so on and so forth. So no matter what your published speeds are, you're not necessarily guaranteed to have a stable throughput, you know, a constant speed. You know, most of the speeds that they tell you are like peak. Just because your service provider says, oh, you'll be able to download up to 100 megabytes a second. Yeah, for however many minutes, not for 11 hours straight.
I think with the, obviously you said with the data potential reduction, especially the phone sides of things, considering that if people do use their phones for things like Netflix, most contracts nowadays are based around data, because companies realise now that people use data for everything. People don't be texting anymore, they use things like WhatsApp. People don't really, they always make phone calls, they use things like Skype and stuff like that. And especially if you're going to be using, for example, if you want to be really cheeky, and obviously phone screens are quite small, you want to use something like a tablet, you'd probably end up tethering potentially from your phone data, which again, a lot of contracts and even normal sort of stuff will have data caps on, especially for tethering.
Yeah, well, some even don't allow it.
Well, yeah. So having that potential ability to decrease data use is quite good, especially with people that have obviously got these lower data contracts due to the obscene pricing. I mean, I'm on unlimited data, so it's not a problem, but it costs me an arm and a leg though to have that. Yeah,
I think we're quite lucky too here in the UK with that, because I know in the States they have a hell of a time with their data plans, and if you go unlimited, your speeds are horrible. So to get decent speeds, you have to, you know, take a lower cap and whatnot. But I think I know in recent years our coverage was maybe a bit shady. At least, you know, like up in the northern end of the island, especially up in like Scotland. But you know, lately now I think we've got really, really good coverage. I mean, like where I live at the moment, I have 4G, and you know, that was a few years ago. The only way to get 4G in Scotland was if you were in Glasgow or Edinburgh. That was it. Those are the only two places you could get 4G. So no, it's it'll be interesting to see.
It will be.
Well, why don't we finish up with some Wildlands talk? Which
good stuff.
Because here on Jungle Drums we have talked about Wildlands. I mean, was that the first episode or the second one where we pretty much only talked about Ubisoft stuff? When was that game?
I missed the second one.
Did you miss it? Was it this?
Was that just a Slate Fest by any chance?
Sort of blacked out asleep.
No, it wasn't so much. No, in fact, I think it was the first one. Like everything it was like all Ubisoft stuff we're talking about. We talked about like
we just got into Siege. We're talking about that.
Yeah, and talked about For Honor because that was still in beta. And
I'm pretty sure we have recently just become
Last Stand Room
fanboys.
as well.
It's
because Rainbow Seeds Division, we were all debating buying For Honor, apart from the fact that we didn't really have the game time, and obviously we're all at some point debating going to get Wildlands. I'm pretty sure I've just slowly become an Ubisoft fanboy.
Wildlands might have to wait, and especially looking at this, I'm not sold.
It's a love-hate relationship. While it was funny at school today, since I'd been off for a bit, obviously with my back, so everyone was real nice. They're like, oh, good to see you, blah 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 blah. And we always talk about games and stuff because it's that type of class. And
class, really.
And I was talking about this, because they always ask, what are you playing? What are you playing? And so I was just saying how, well, recently, it's been Siege, still playing Division, this, that, and this. And it was some of the younger guys, and they had some quite interesting stuff to say. They were like, the problem with Ubisoft is just that, at launch, their games are shit. Sometimes they get better, later on, but, and it was interesting. I led this discussion of how they were saying that they would never again pre-order, or buy an Ubisoft game on launch. And it started to make me think. I know we kind of touched on this before, we've talked about it, but okay, like The Division, right? I actually did enjoy the launch of that, but if I'm honest and we look back at how that game's developed, I think honestly it was a bit shit. It's in a better place now than it was at launch.
To be with Division, I think you almost need to see it as an outlier because it's the same as Destiny. It's kind of almost a first type of what it is trying to be.
Yes.
So I think there's still a lot of from both sides in terms of Destiny learning from Division and Division learning from Destiny. There's a lot of learning going on there.
Yeah.
So I think that was always going to be the sort of main case.
You're right.
Where most Ubi games, it's servers.
Well, the thing is, I'd read a good article about that the other week saying that, the reason they use peer-to-peer is cost, right? It's cheaper. The amount it costs for dedicated is just, it's ridiculous, and that's why they claim that only, like, the big AAA games can actually kind of afford that, and even then, it does really, really cut into their profits, but I think that's the biggest thing that pisses me off about Ubisoft is their constant dependence on this peer-to-peer model. Because, you look at For Honor, that, which was hyped up and got really good reviews, has now already, not even, how many weeks is it after launch? It came out Valentine's Day, right?
Yes.
And it is just getting slated, folk are leaving, folk are trying to get refunds because it's broken. That the way that it handles its peer-to-peer networking is just game destroying.
It's also got a lot of other problems with it as well, balance-wise.
Yes. Yeah.
What people didn't realise is that it's actually a fighting game. So, and there's lots of you've had some real sort of people going in deep to the frame timings on things and showing how
but
messed up it is.
It just seems to be the thing. And it's not just those games. Ubisoft's done it with other games as well. The big one being like Assassin's Creed Unity, where at launch it was just a complete mess and it was horrible. And yeah, it's not a perfect game now, but
it's still quite buggy.
Yeah, but it's better at least.
Well, you still walk along and people just disappear. For no reason.
The Far Cry games, was it Far Cry 2 that they had to patch, and when they patched it, it destroyed everyone's save game? I think it was the second Far Cry.
I think it was one of the Far Cry's on PC.
Yeah.
I think it might have been later than that, though. I can't remember.
I'm sure it was.
That happening.
I thought it was 2. But anyway, it just seems to be an Ubisoft thing that, whilst I agree with you, Jay, I almost sometimes feel like a bit of a fanboy because I do like the stuff they come out with. I do like their products. But I think that embracing them at launch when their game first comes out is a bit of a risky affair. And it just seems,
it wasn't always the case.
No.
Problem.
When I look at Wildlands, I look at, my finger's been hovering over pushing, the button to get the gold edition. We're talking, 80 quid to get the season pass, get all this stuff. And I'm like, but wait a minute. Why? Especially if this is going to be a bit broken at launch, if it's going to have issues, why not just wait a few months till it gets discounted? Because, let's be honest, Ubisoft games always seem to get discounted. You look at Steep, right? And you guys know how much I love that game, because I'm always fucking raving on about it. That came out in November, I think it was? Or was it the beginning of December? I can't remember when Steep was launched. Let me Google that real quick. Steep launch date. Right. Steep was launched on the 2nd of December. And I was able to buy that, a fortnight later for 20... Was it $4.99 or $9.99? Either way...
I think it was 24.
You're talking 30 quid off. Just by waiting. And it just always seems to be that way with Ubisoft games. I'm sure Syndicate, which I haven't even played yet, but Assassin's Creed Syndicate, I bought that. It hadn't been out that terribly long. And I'm sure I got that for a steal as well. I'm sure it was only 20 or 30 quid.
I did get Unity for 99p.
You know, it just... You know, The Division... I'm sure it wasn't that long till The Division was discounted.
I can't remember if I got it on discount, if I still paid full price for it.
I mean, I know I kind of screwed myself with The Division because I ended up pre-ordering the physical collector's edition, so I got the watch, ooh, whoop-de-doo, and the little armband thing that is fucking useless unless you've got the arms of a 10-year-old. But everything else was cool. The artwork, the box was absolutely beautiful. Because I remember for Honor, I had considered getting the collector's edition of For Honor because of the stuff it came with, like the actual physical one. But I'm really glad I didn't do that. But anyway, we digress. We got riled up with the Ubisoft stuff. Wildlands, they finally came out with the roadmap. What we thinking?
The PvP was first, to be honest. But I meant...
Why PvP? It doesn't need it.
That is the thing. I never really looked at it as a PvP game. I never saw it as a PvP game.
It is.
I think part of it is almost a way to keep people still interested in it. From my opinion of it, it's almost just like this little try and pull you in and keep you there kind of thing. I mean, it could be interesting. We don't know what it's going to be like in PvP.
Quick question: have any of the previous Ghost Recon games had much of a PvP aspect to them?
Well, yes, basically all of them.
All of them did. Okay.
They were online. They were basically like tactical third-person, just shooters.
I remember
but this game seems to have tried more to create a world that you can actually take your squad in through. Where the other ones were just like, here's your linear story, go through that with your squad, now go into the multiplayer sort of job. This one they created a world to explore, and then they've just gone, oh crap, PvP, let's jam that in.
This is something that
doesn't need it.
You mentioned that, and this is kind of what pisses me off about Wildlands a little bit, is that they keep saying, okay, yes, open world, and there's no denying it's a big map, right? I mean, there's a lot of shit there. There's a lot of stuff to do. As we saw, there was like some kind of dynamic elements when it came to some of those kind of bonus missions, you know, like the things you could do for the friggin' rebels and shit, you know, it'd sometimes be different locations and whatnot, blah, 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 blah. But the thing that gets me is, it's actually still very linear. You know, okay, maybe we've got a choice where you don't have to necessarily go to each area in order. But at the end of the day, like, it's still got, each area has like a boss, right? And that boss is going to have to be killed. And I think for me, you know, that's still very, very linear. Yeah, sure, each mission, you don't necessarily have to do it the same way. You know, me and Gimboyd, we might approach from the west, guns blazing, whereas Jay and Warfares might say, no, they're going to do it from the east and go silently. That's cool, but the end result's still the same. You know, if it was more kind of like, right, here's the zone, like say that first zone, and you've got this, you know, it's in control by the cartel. If there were different ways to change that, right? Like, say option one's like, yeah, you find that cartel leader and kill him, Or say option 2 is, no, wait a minute, actually, instead of doing that, you try to strengthen up the rebel forces in the area and they overthrow them? Or what if actually you try to frame the cartel guy, you know, for it looks like he's doing like bad shit, and the cartel eliminates him? You know what I mean? Like, that would be open world for me. Right now it just seems like it's actually still a linear game with the illusion of this kind of open worldness. But that's just my opinion.
The only problem with your suggestion there is that basically you're going, well, we have to create 3 different mission styles for this one zone rather than just the one, and then it's 3 times the work. You're right. I mean, you're absolutely right. It's unrealistic. You get a third the size game in the end. It's not gonna spend more time.
I mean, in my head, I was kind of comparing it initially to Hitman. Like, oh, you know how Hitman's quite, you know, yes, you have to kill this guy, but how you do it, there's so many options. But yeah, but you still end up killing the guy, don't you?
Yeah.
He might die a different way, but the end result's still the same. So I suppose, yeah, I think initially when I looked at the previews and stuff, I was thinking, oh, this is going to be quite cool because it's going to be dynamic. You know, I thought that's I think how I interpret it. There was going to be kind of dynamic, that you're in Bolivia, you need to do this, you need to do that. But after playing what we played, just to see that, well, no, actually, you get these missions. Yeah, you don't necessarily have to do the missions in order, so that's cool. And I imagine there'll be points where you don't necessarily have to do each zone in a specific order either. I mean, I know that... Remember when you looked at the map, and like they had like kind of a... Like, say an area would have 5 cartel bosses, but then there was a big boss above them. And in order to attack that big boss, you had to kill 3 out of the 5 or something. So, I suppose, like, all 3 of us could play through the single-player game solo, and we would probably have very different experiences. We'd probably have a very different, oh, well, I did this, that, and this. Whereas, you know, Gimboy might be saying, well, oh, really? Oh, I didn't actually do those bosses till near the end, or I don't know. It's just that. That's what I'm thinking.
In a way, though, what you
drove in a big truck and destroyed everything.
Would be quite possible, though, with you having different ways of doing it, because although, as Joe said, you'd have to technically have 3 different mission types, it's not necessarily the case, because, as you know, there is already essentially what you have as rebel cartel bases throughout the map anyway. So you could literally have a system in place where it would be something like you can either go do your 5 main missions, whatever main missions it is, and then move straight into killing the boss, or you could go claim all these cartel areas, which slowly increase the rebel influence in the area. And then depending how much that rebel influence is increased depends whether or not you straight away overthrow, or you can, for example, say increase the rebel influence to maybe 40% of the map. And then when you come to fight the end boss, you potentially have less to have to fight because you've got this rebel influence there. So things like that, it's not too bad. And as you say, there could be other ways you could do it. You could have to kill somebody, but you could almost have, for example, somebody driving along and you've got to like create an accident or something using the rebels or something silly like that. I don't know if they'll have anything implemented like that further in the line.
I think the thing that gets me is, you know, I mean, okay, we've been playing together now for, you know, a couple of years, and we've been enjoying things like the raids in Destiny, incursions in the Division, this whole concept of end game, you know, that itch that WoW used to scratch for us, you know, but now we've kind of moved on. We're not going back to that dark part of our lives, and I honestly thought Wildlands was gonna have that same type of thing, like be kind of like an end game. And what little we played of it made me think, okay, you know what? The content's going to be really, really quick. It's not going to last that long. The replayability, maybe when it comes to trying to 100% every zone, blah 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 blah. But I was kind of still holding on to hope, thinking, well, you know what? Their expansions are going to do some stuff. Their expansions are going to add more content, more story. But if you look at what these expansions are actually going to do, so, you know, what we're paying for that season pass for, whatever, we're going to get a PvP update. So that's free, actually. That's a free PvP update. But the 2 major paid expansions, one is Narco Road, which effectively infiltrating a gang of smugglers and earn their trust by competing in races and challenges. So basically getting a paid DLC that's going to be racing, more or less.
Racing with those driving physics.
With those driving physics, yeah. And then the other paid expansion, Fallen Ghosts, has your squad running from their downed helicopter to escape powerful new enemies that are hot in their trail. So that sounds, I'm assuming, of course they've said nothing about it, but could that possibly be kind of like Wildlands survival mode?
It doesn't really much at all, to be fair.
I'm quite interested by Narco Road because I think that's got a lot of scope to it, and depending how they do it, depends how well it goes. Because there's a lot of stuff they can do with that, especially with potentially. Although it's only smugglers when you look at it, they could introduce so much choices within that. Because it obviously you're trying to get their trust, and it could be something as stupid as they have got a guy who has betrayed them or something, and here's the gun, you got to choose to kill him for them or not, or help him let him go because obviously you're technically a good guy still. And they could have that sort of choice system in play with that. And
sounds good, but it does just say racing challenges.
It says challenges.
That's the problem.
I'm just gonna pull up the trailer of it really quick, just for the.
Me personally, although that could just be my idea from out the window, I think there's a lot of scope there if they were to. So to describe,
if you see in that link, there's that trailer, and so it's okay. They're talking, but there's going to be seasonal events as well, community challenges. So that's cool. You know, if they're going to actually make this world a bit dynamic, okay, that's actually kind of coercing me round a little bit. If the game world's going to be dynamic, that's going to have seasonal events, that sounds a bit more interesting. But from what little I'm seeing, it looks like Narco Road, yes, is going to be predominantly car racing. But they're showing a bit of cutscenes here. They're showing some monster truck stuff, a little bit of stuff with airplanes. The second expansion, Fallen Ghosts,
Narco Road
is basically running away. You know, I mean, I say survival mode. Maybe that's like the wrong terminology. You know, because nowadays we think of survival, we think you start off with absolutely nothing and this, that, and this. But okay, watching the vid does give a little bit more hope. I suppose the big thing is, too, that you're getting early access. If you're a season pass holder, you're getting access to those things, I think, a full week earlier.
Yeah, a week earlier.
You're also getting all sorts of outfits and packs and boosters and credits, because, oh, guess what? Yeah, microtransactions are in Wildlands. Right off the bat.
That's the case of most games nowadays, isn't it? Microtransactions has become so big since mobile gaming.
Well, at least like with Destiny and The Division, they waited a year before sneaking them in. But no, Wildlands, fuck it. It's in there right off the bat. But then Siege had them right off the bat as well, though, didn't they? So.
Well, and Siege put them in. They also put in the fact that you can get DLC for free in the game if you're willing to grind.
True.
Which sort of alright, you put microtransactions in, that's fine. You let me get the stuff for free if I work for it. Even better. that warrants that means they're fine. You can put your microtransactions in if you're going to let me get the DLC for free. It's great. The problem is they're going to bleed all the goodwill out of their customers with these microtransactions. The more they put it in, the more it's going to just.
Well, that's the thing, though, isn't it? There's this whole entire argument, though, isn't there, of it's your choice if you want to buy them. Until they put them in where they are game-changing, where it is like, oh, I can buy this really stupidly overpowered gun early in the game when you can get it later on.
Oh, when it becomes pay to win, that's when it really becomes.
When it becomes pay to win, that's when you're basically pissing on the gamer base.
Even cosmetic items, it's like starting to get to me because you're online. It's like, oh, I'm average and boring. Everyone's got all this shiny stuff. I want the shiny stuff. Give me the shiny stuff now.
But you almost kind of feel unique.
No, you're not allowed the shiny stuff in the game that you paid for. You must pay us more money if you want the shiny stuff.
Yeah, it's a fair point.
But going back to Wildlands, Narco, going back to Narco Road again, is for me, it just seems like there could have been so much scope, because if you actually look at, again, saying what I said earlier, there's that they actually talk about in game, your characters do, about the that guy who was actually part of the cartel as an undercover agent and all the shit he had to go through.
Mm-hmm.
And being able to be part of something like that, be able to make these choices of I've got to talk to somebody or pretend to or sneak them out and slowly losing your reputation, potentially having to kill a cartel guy because he's found you out, and all these sort of choices that could be involved in something like an expansion like that would be fucking amazing. And I would feel so much better playing something like that, having that.
You're pointing out another trend that I've been noticing in games as well. So much potential not being realised.
Yeah.
I mean, the big glaring one in your face, Destiny.
That's what gets me. I think I didn't say that after, I'm sure it was the closed beta Wildlands, that it's got potential, but I just didn't feel that it was that. I'm so on the fence with Wildlands, because when I look at it, I think it's pretty. I do like the gameplay. I was enjoying the AI, even so they're not perfect by any means, but I like the concept of it. And I think that's because I loved the Far Cries. Because it's still, I think the thing that pisses me off about Wildlands is it's effectively Far Cry Ghost Recon Edition. I've said it before, I'll say it again. It just,
squad.
But it doesn't mean I hate it. I'm honestly so on the fence. On one hand, I think I should wait until it's cheaper and see how the launch goes, and just see how things kind of progress. But on the other hand, I would really love to be playing it come March 7th.
I'm just going to throw this at me for you, Jungle, okay? Yeah, because I'm in the same boat as you, but I'm now looking at what happened with Siege and how we decided not to buy it.
I know. We've said this before. Remember, like with Division, we were there for the changes. Destiny, we were there from the beginning. We've seen the changes, and you're right, it does change things. Look at when we were doing our Warframe stuff, Gim. And okay, the game was basically a big pile of shit at launch. But it would have been cool to have actually been playing it to see those changes happening.
I did try getting into it, and only on the third
Me
time
too.
trying it did I get into it. So.
Well, the fact that you had to pay to res, you could only die a limited amount of times a day.
I think you got 5 resurrections a day, or something like that, and then you're dead.
No,
you have to pay for more.
No, it was. So I know what you mean, Jay. It's weird. It's like, I'd love to be there at launch. I'd love to, be part of that team that you don't know. Back in my day, you should have seen the state of the servers. It was launched on March 7th. No one could play it till the 10th.
That'll probably be the case as well.
But at the same time,
game later, and you go, why were you playing it then if it was that bad?
But Gim's absolutely right. What if me and you, we spend 80 quid because we say, well, no, if we're going in, we're going all in, and we get the gold edition, right? And then 2 months later, and it's been a horrible 2 months because connections have been shit, things have been crashing, it's been absolutely, totally horrible. Then Gim picks up the game for 30 quid at friggin' Tesco, and it runs absolutely right. Who's the dickhead here? And that's what I'm worried about, is that would I regret it? Would I regret if it is a horrible launch and things are crap, and if I see that if I just waited, I'm not even talking like a long amount of time, I'm talking like, within a month, or maybe 2 max, if it's that much discounted, then I just don't know. I don't know.
I think the other thing
I'll probably eventually get it,
which might lead me more towards Wildlands again as well, is obviously you saying about the season events and stuff and community challenges, didn't you? On the
yes, I didn't realise it was going to actually be that.
I haven't played it.
Are they going to be there on release?
Having listened to what you've spoken to about Steep and everything, and how sort of well that's done in it, or I presume from what you've been
yes.
How good would this for Wildlands be? Would there be leaderboards? Would there be rewards for how, like, an almost tiered reward system for how much you put into this community challenge? So not everybody gets this, but if you're in the top 1%, you get this big shiny cool thing.
Yeah,
if you're in, like, the top 50%, you get this. Top
you're right.
This.
I mean, look at. I did all the stuff in Steep, and then I wasn't playing it, and then the minute the World Tour came out, that was me. I was on it. Now there's another World Tour, which, yes, I've just qualified the other day.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I know what you mean. It's kind of... And when you think of the seasonal stuff in Destiny, which, okay, yes, later on went a bit... Ugh, but it was... Yeah, but it was cool. You know, it's one of those things that... Would it have changed things for us if the Division had that? You know, if the world was a bit more persistent and changed,
always
and
Christmas in the Division.
yeah, it's been fucking Christmas for what, a year and a half.
I think it would have done. I think we'd been Division a lot more as well if there was more Christmas going on.
Yeah,
and this is what I say with Wildlands. Obviously, with how well they do it on Steep, or from what you've said they've done on Steep, that's that potential again. I'm going to use the word here, potential possibility they have within this game. I'm still annoyed about their Narco Road. So much potential.
All in all that this has confirmed for me is that I don't need to get any game on launch, with the exception
of
Mass Effect. I ain't getting spoiled.
Yeah,
Oh, well.
I think you've.
I ain't getting spoiled on my Mass Effect.
There's nothing, you know. It is nice to be an early adopter, but at the same time, you know, especially when a launch is dodgy, and considering Ubisoft's track record, I would imagine it will be.
The only people the only things you should pre-order are hardware, because that's limited, and you should only pre-order games if it's your job to play them and review them, or critique them, or let's play them. Just, if it's your job to play that game and get it out there, people to watch and learn about.
Yeah, no, that's a fair point.
For the average customer, wait, damn it.
Oh well, I'll tell you what, we have, it's been just over an hour, we've definitely blown enough hot air. I think we shall wrap things up there for this evening, boys. Thank you very much, both of you, for being on this evening. Are we...
Pays us to do it.
Are we playing anything tomorrow? Just out of curiosity.
I'm on the. You want to join in?
I'm.
That's fine.
I'm on the early at work tomorrow, and I'm off Saturday, so I can have a bit of a late one on Friday night.
Ooh, because I'll be streaming tomorrow. I've been dodging the Friday streams, unfortunately, not on purpose, but it's just the way things have worked out. I am yet to have a Friday stream on Beam, so hopefully I can try to do one tomorrow.
Well, you had one, haven't you, already? Because you had that.
Nope.
Playing only, didn't you?
Yeah, you were playing that old game only.
Nope.
That was Friday.
Sunday.
Was that Sunday? Was it?
I've done my Sundays. I've hit my Sundays, and I've only missed one Tuesday. I've only missed one Thursday, but I haven't done a single Friday since I started on Beam. Just because the way things have worked out, whether it's been had to do something, or like last week, I just was physically incapable.
Snapped you back into.
You know
yes.
What? I think you should have a guest appearance for your Friday and just call it Troll Fest and just record Joe playing games.
Just watch me getting banned on Siege for Team Kill.
Well, I was just curious to see who I was going to be on, because if it's just like me and Gim, then we could do something like Warframey or whatever. But if it's going to be like most of us, like the crew, then we'll do Siege or whatever.
Well, I wouldn't see why Nath wouldn't be on either, because he doesn't obviously has weekends off, so unless he's got something major planned with his other half. Again, see him on 7 minutes.
He's probably putting his balls back on our back. Ooh.
Okay. Right. So well, hey, tomorrow, guys, then, this is for the viewers, tomorrow TGIF will most likely be some type of co-op game. Very good chance it'll be Siege, and if it's Siege, we might have a few spots. We'll have some empty spots, so don't be shy. As long as you don't suck. Well, actually, it's okay if you suck, because I'm pretty shit myself, so it'll be fine. Jay and Gim will carry you.
In the back,
yeah,
so
you'll either get carried or team killed. It'll be absolutely fine.
I might make you hold a C4 pack and charge at the enemy.
Let me just switch this to this. Right here, and well, thank you very much out there for watching, and I will catch you. If you just watch Jungle Drums, then I'll catch you next Thursday at 9 o'clock for the next episode of Jungle Drums.